I need to address some of the comments, Keith, that we've had in on that remarkable Victor Wanyama news. Neil Lennon's been Dunfermline manager for a day, and he's already possibly pulled out the transfer of the season. Mark writes in saying, amazing, it might end up like Dundee in the Caniggia and Ravanelli days. Mark follows up by saying it's one thing putting the fear into Messi in the Champions League, but in the Championship, they'll destroy Wanyama. Tony says, Hooper and Ledley next, please, Neil. Robert McCluskey, though, says, Wanyama, typical of a manager that's lost in the past. And I like this one from Tony as well, who says, from 35 grand a week in MLS to £800 per week in Fife. Fair play, Victor. It is a remarkable bit of business if they pull it off.
Well, as Michael was saying, in January he felt there was clubs in Saudi who were thinking about making an offer for Wanyama. They might be going on the fact that this is a guy that's played the English Premier League and the Champions League. But yeah, I mean, it's quite a contrast. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the Kingdom of Fife in the space of 6 months, or less than that. Look, see if he's a quarter of the player that he was when he was at his peak, he'll be a monster in that Championship. And
you and Mick covered it, but he was at his peak, top class, one of the best holding midfielders on the continent.
Well, I also think he was a record sale at the time, wasn't he?
Aye.
Before Celtic started. Before Celtic started flinging them all out the door for 25 million. Wanyama was the guy that was stepping up towards that. What was it, 12 and a bit?
I think it was about 12 million to Southampton now.
Yeah, and then obviously moves to Spurs from there. There's no doubt in his quality. Might there be an issue over his fitness? I don't think he's kicked the ball for over a year. But Neil Lennon's no daft, and if he thinks he can get something out of him between now and the end of the season, it might be the difference between Dunfermline staying up, staying safe in the division, and then they can have a look at it and reassess exactly what they're looking for next season.
Aye.
Of course, Neil Lennon's not in the position right now to be future planning. He's only got this gig until the end of the season as things stand. So it's going to be really interesting, you know, if Wanyama comes in, if he makes the difference, you know. And as I said to you, the major point being that, you know, it's not about Neil Lennon trying to find the next Wanyama. He needs to find the old Wanyama and hope that his legs are still, you know, able to get, you know, an hour here and there, perhaps an hour every game between now and the end of the season. But you know, I think Mick's right as well. The level of interest around Neil Lennon versus Scott Brown with Victor Wanyama this weekend it's going to be fascinating. I spoke to a former Celtic player earlier on today who shall remain unnamed, but believes and knows the two characters very, very well. Believes that Scott Brown represents the future. He says Scott Brown has benefited from the modern day sort of teachings and mentoring of Brendan Rodgers, whereas Neil, you know, his mentor really was Martin O'Neill. And so there's a feeling, a suspicion that, you know, that the kind of modern stuff, Scott Brown might just have the edge. But then you look at Neil Lennon's CV and what he's achieved in management and in the game. So I think it'll be a real interesting time. And it wouldn't actually surprise me. The two of them are really good friends, but they're fiery guys, they're competitors. It wouldn't surprise you if the two of them ended up nose to nose in the dugout in Somerset Park at some point.
That would be entertaining, definitely.
Victor having to act a bouncer.
Look, Ayr will be the favourites, but that will be an absolute cracker of a game. Aye, definitely.